Another internet drama has erupted across the web. Everyone's probably seen or heard about this story over the last couple of months. Yet another self-proclaimed Chad from the manosphere gets his ass kicked. Recently, the controversial right-wing LOOKSMAXXER, known as Clavicular, found himself on the receiving end of the long arm of the law. Again. But who is this guy? A racist, a homophobe, a sexist, a far-right poster boy, a handsome guy, an athlete. In short, the kind of cool dude who would have commanded respect in any American high school. But in reality, he is a drug addict, impotent, a clinical psychopath. And, to put it bluntly, a complete moron. Today we are going to break down how this jackass became an icon in certain circles, what's hiding behind the mask of a hyper-masculine ancient Greek god, why he's became a regular at local police stations, and most importantly, why LOOKSMAXXING has once again hit rock bottom, proving it's not self-improvement, but a degenerate circus of freaks. I honestly don't know what was dumber for me, watching Has-Been Hotel to review it across 2 videos, or trying to explain from a scientific standpoint why hitting yourself in the skull with a hammer is actually, you know, bad for you. So, Clavicular, 20 years old, from New Jersey. His real name is Braden Eric Peters, about as typical a white boy from the suburbs as you can get. 800,000 followers on TikTok, 500,000 on Instagram. Net worth, roughly $100,000 a month. He is also known as a streamer on Kick, you know, the platform for people who got kicked off Twitch for being too weird. He was born into a family with a businessman father and a stay-at-home mom. He went to a private Christian school. Sounds like a solid start for a career as a lawyer or a doctor. But this subject chose the path of a professional degenerate. First off, this particular fruit became widely known for his involvement in looksmaxxing. And he's not just some pathetic incel dreaming of seeing a real pair of boobs for the first time. No, he's considered a top-tier guru in that space.
Sydney Sweeney.
Subhuman.
Why are you gay?
Epstein. Mog.
His reason for diving into this nonsense, like most looksmaxxers, was the goal of upgrading his appearance to a level where life would just fall into place. Because the halo effect states that the overall impression of a person or brand transfers to their individual traits. In other words, the better looking you are, the higher your perceived value in society. And it's hard to argue with that. When you're a handsome guy, you get more attention, more status, more influence. By the way, drop a comment below. What's your take on looksmaxxing in general? Did it ever do anything for you? And on the surface, what's so bad about that? But when you dig a little deeper and look at the potential practices he engaged in, it becomes clear. These methods are a potential ticket to the hospital or even the morgue. Since this guy wasn't exactly the most attractive looking person when he was younger, just hitting the gym and getting a trendy haircut wasn't enough for him. He decided to go all in. His signature move is his tutorials on how to do so-called bonesmashing. This practice is a form of hard maxing. It's based on Wolff's law, which states that the bones of a healthy person or animal adapt to the laws they're subjected to. Under increased stress, the bone becomes denser and stronger. So, according to these brilliant minds, if you start bashing your face with a heavy blunt object, the bone in certain areas will thicken, giving the skull that ideal aesthetic shape. But science is stubborn, and it says that hitting yourself in the face with a hammer doesn't turn you into Jordan Barrett. It turns you into a patient in a maxillofacial surgery ward, with microfractures, bruises and soft tissue damage. And more likely than not, some fool who tries this will end up looking like they've been in a car wreck, with facial numbness or even sepsis. Hit that like button if you also don't hit yourself in the head with heavy objects. Continuing this streak of cosmetic sadism, Braden developed an interest in endocrinology. At 14 years old, during the COVID-19 pandemic, he started injecting testosterone to become more masculine. By the way, he got kicked out of college for possessing it, after his audience on looksmaxxing.org reported him to the college administration. So, his own followers ratted him out.
I was kicked out of uni for essentially roid maxing and, looksmaxxing.
I'm not going to bore you by rehashing all the side effects of messing with hormones during puberty. I'll just say this: injecting testosterone 14 is harmful and dangerous because at that age your body is already producing its own hormones. If you introduce more from the outside, the body decides it has enough of its own and reduces or completely stops its natural production. And that's exactly what happened. According to Braden himself in an interview with the NYT, he's infertile. His body completely forgot how to produce testosterone. So, the icon of masculine beauty for 2025 is essentially a Barbie Ken doll. Good looking, sure, but as for making a cream pie for his girlfriend, he can't cook it. And speaking of girlfriends, after wrecking his reproductive health, it seems this fool decided to surround himself with similarly impaired young friends, just so he wouldn't feel so alone. There's a video circulating online from November 2025, where the subject is injecting his underage girlfriend with fat-dissolving peptides to alter her jawline. For obvious reasons, those clips are blurred out, because YouTube doesn't exactly love that kind of content. For those who want the full uncensored version, it's available free on my Patreon, link in the description. But back to the fat-dissolving injections. A high school biology lesson: fat in women isn't always just dead weight. They need a certain percentage of body fat for hormones and normal bodily function. This is because fat tissue plays a role in producing estrogen. If there's too little, it can cause menstrual irregularities and fertility issues. But hey, who cares if you can improve a void on camera? That's in his vocabulary. Basically, women are subhuman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clear example of the kind of ideas you come up with when instead of going to school, you spend your time hitting yourself in an already empty head with a hammer. And it wasn't just steroids. Braden has talked about using crystals to suppress his appetite, so he could eat less and maintain a low body fat percentage. Because meth is definitely the best vitamin for a chiseled jawline. By the way, while I was editing this video, footage surfaced online showing this guy being hospitalized after overdosing on some kind of dope. According to him, this is what helps him keep himself together in public. Now, he has a full course for $39 a month called Clavicular Is. In it, he teaches people how to become handsome by using peptides. Did you get it? A vulnerable alpha male who has destroyed his health so badly that his little soldier stands at attention less often than a 70-year-old man's is trying to teach people. What exactly can this brain-dead moron teach anyone with background like that? The question is rhetorical. He's not just an idiot, he's a dangerous idiot. As a major influencer, he should understand the consequences of such recommendations and be held accountable. I'm actually surprised that TikTok, a platform so sterile you can get banned just for posting a photo of Hitler, still lets him exist there, without even a shadow ban. Besides his questionable looksmaxxing advice, our guest today is also known for his far-right leanings. Despite Braden himself claiming to be apolitical, a series of specific events suggest this guy is definitely not apolitical. I won't dwell on the small stuff like the N-word being in his vocabulary or him insulting LGBTQ+ people on streams, for which he got banned from Twitch. Given how aggressively the left-wing agenda is being pushed everywhere these days, the emergence of a figure like this in celebrity circles is almost expected.
Thanks, nigga.
Violence begets violence. In this case, violence against common sense. One of those specific events was an interview with Michael Knowles for the Daily Wire. There, Clavicular called the current Vice President of America, J.D. Vance, subhuman for his recessed side profile and for being obese.
J.D. Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese. Very recessed side profile.
At the same time, he said in the potential 2028 US presidential election, he wouldn't vote for Vance, he'd vote for Chad Gavin Newsom, because Newsom is more attractive.
J.D. Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
This isn't just some post-ironic Instagram thing, where guys post right-wing memes to spite Soros and his libtards. No, this guy is literally advocating for eugenics, and he couldn't care less about the policies or direction a candidate proposes. The only thing that matters is the shape of their school. Who cares how the country is governed? Or take another example. In January 2026, there was a legendary circus in Miami. At the Vendome Club, the elite of the Manosphere gathered in a VIP section. Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, and our main character. They got so carried away that they asked the DJ to play a track by Kanye West, named after a certain famous Austrian painter. The fallout from this scandal forced the mayor of Miami Beach to make a statement condemning it on local media, and the subject was banned from the various elite clubs in Miami. Thus he got cancelled in the domain that hurts him most, the Miami social scene. He was barred from the clubs where he was used to mugging and feeling like elite of society. But our brutal alpha wasn't fazed. He decided to show these omegas who the daddy in the room is. Want to know how he told these nobodies off? After briefly playing the defiant role, publicly refusing to apologize, he eventually backed down. Braden published a post stating that he would no longer engage in politics. And now we got the most interesting part, the offenses and the arrests. With antics like his, it was inevitable that this guy would catch the cops' attention. In December 2025, Clavicular hit the stalker with his Tesla Cybertruck. According to his version, the guy jumped onto the hood after first spraying the car with paint. There is footage surfaced online where Braden, after the incident, says he hopes the victim kicked the buckets.
Is he dead?
I don't know.
Hopefully.
Currently, no official charges have been filed in this case, although the incident was widely reported in the media. Specifically here, I will not pretend to be a moral authority. I am not going to say I totally condemn Braden for this. Yeah, sure, it was illegal. Oh no, what a crime. But come on, the video clearly shows the stalker was out of his mind. And we are talking about USA, not some Scandinavian country like Sweden. The tweaker would have easily been armed. And who the hell knows how that situation would have ended. Then, on February 7, 2026 in Arizona, police spotted Braden near the Casa Amigos nightclub. Club staff brought him out at the request of the police, and they searched him. The cops had their suspicions. And lo and behold, they found amphetamine and steroids in his pockets. What made things worse for him is that under Arizona state law, nightclubs are restricted for those 21 and older. Braden was 20 at that time. He had tried to get in using a fake ID. For this, he held in Maricopa County Jail on a $25,000 bond. However, he was released on February 11th due to a low likelihood of conviction. Next up, March. On the 9th, that fight happened between two girlfriends he had previously injected with fat dissolvers. The incident took place at a house he rented in Kissimmee. The main charge, that Clavicular not only failed to break them up, but accordingly to investigators, he encouraged and provoked the fight for content. After that, Braden was arrested at his home, based on a warrant related to that fight. He was thrown in the slammer, though he didn't stay long. He was released on the bail the next day. And now, for the most hardcore part. On the day of his arrest for the fight, he posted a video of himself on airboat, shooting a presumably dead alligator with a pistol, firing over 25 rounds. Florida has a particular stance on this. It's illegal to kill, injure or capture alligators without a special license, and hunting is only allowed during the designated season. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is investigating. This qualifies as a third-degree felony, which carries a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Notice the irony. In Arizona, he was facing serious time for pills, but the prosecutor let him off. In Florida, they held him overnight for a catfight between girls, but for shooting an alligator that was already dead, he could actually be facing real prison time. Turns out, wildlife conservationists in Florida state law are harsher than morality police. To sum it up, Clavicular is a complete degenerate who never got his life together and has literally turned into a cross between Reddit posts and locker room talk. His tendency to collect card cases like video game achievements and doing all kinds of outrageous shit is a constant balancing act on the fine line between provocation and degeneracy. And Braden often crosses it just for the hype surrounding his persona. He's a very clear example of what happens when an insecure teenager gets access to the internet and a platform. And is basically a mirror of the entire looksmaxxing community as a whole. With these kinds of trends, if he doesn't change something in his life, we might very well not to be watching tips on looksmaxxing from him, but a tips on how to survive in prison if you're a pretty boy. Yeah, he's handsome, no argument there. Yeah, he's constantly surrounded by young pussies, no argument there either. But behind that aesthetic facade is a wrecked health and a special endocrine system, the consequences of which don't exactly fit his vision of masculine beauty. Thanks for watching this video. This has been Cherpak at the mic. Don't be like Braden and happy Friday everyone.